Welcome back to the kitchen. Today, I'm actually just making breakfast for myself, and I thought, well, why not make a video about it? So here's what I do. I've talked about the fact that I try to eat carnivore most of the time, but this breakfast is not carnivore. This is keto, not carnivore. And I'll just put this out here. So whenever I make ground beef, and typically I'll just grind it up, cook it, put some of it in a bowl, maybe add a little cheese, put an egg in it, eat that for breakfast. But I have some left here. And so I'm going to use this to make some breakfast tacos. And I want to show you how I do that. Because I add a secret ingredient a lot of people don't think to add. And you might like it. And there's one little twist we're going to put in here as well that I just learned from Sam the Cooking Guy. So stick around. All right, to start, I'm going to pop this in the microwave because it needs to be warmed up a little bit. And I'm just going to pop it in there for about a minute. And I typically buy street tacos. These are 0 carbs. That doesn't mean they don't have carbs, but 0 net carbs. And I'm just going to make a couple of them this morning. I'm going to make them a couple of different ways here just so you can kind of see how they go. Very similar, very little difference between them. But the thing to remember is that when you're using leftovers to make stuff, you use whatever you have. If you've got something different than I have, rather than hamburger, if you've got sausage or chorizo or even bacon, whatever meat you want to put in it is fine. And I've got a couple of options for cheese here. So let me just grab a knife real quick. And I'm going to turn the heat onto this pan because I'm going to need it just shortly as well. So I bought some pimento cheese from Fresh Market. Again, not really carnivore, but I love pimento cheese. And every once in a while, I just want to buy some. I add a little sriracha sauce to it. So I'm going to make a breakfast taco with some pimento. And these things don't take much of anything because the shells are so small. So I'm just going to spread that around a little bit. We'll call that a day. And then I've got some sharp cheddar. And you may remember from another video that I made that I stopped buying pre-shredded cheese because of all the added ingredients. And what I found is that I eat less cheese because it takes more effort. And I'm just going to, I don't want to throw it on the floor. I'm just going to put a little cheese on this shell. And again, it doesn't take much. Just kind of spread that around a little bit. And I'm just going to start piling up a bunch of crap around me here, so just bear with me. Now, ordinarily, what I have done in the past is I've just used these shells to make tacos. But I learned this little trick from Sam the Cooking Guy, who learned it from being overseas somewhere in another country. And what he did, instead of cheese, he made a base layer of refried beans, which is obviously a good choice if you are into tacos. And I'm just going to fold those over for a minute. And somewhere around here, I've got some olive oil. And that's heating up nicely. That's good. So I'm just going to take a little olive oil. Not much, just enough to dab with. And I'm just going to dab a little bit on these shells because I'm going to throw these in the skillet. And it needs a little something to help it kind of brown up. And I'm just going to throw these in here. They won't take long, but while they're there, I'm going to put a little more olive oil on the other side so I can flip it. And I may flip it a couple of times. We'll see. I'm going to let that go until it's sort of ready. And while that's happening, let me just clean up a little bit here and grab a few more items. So let's see. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this. And I think that might be it. All right, let's flip these real quick. It's going to take a little bit to get those going, but here's what I add. So once I get those shells out and I'm ready to add my stuff, I use a base layer of sauerkraut on all of my street tacos. I just love sauerkraut. And it gives it a little more crunchiness than just putting lettuce. And so the secret ingredient for me is a dill pickle. So let me just get that together here. Let's flip this one more time. These come together pretty quick. I may have a little bit too much olive oil on there, but you might be able to hear it starting to sizzle a little bit over there. So let's do this. I'm about out of pickles, so it's time to go to the grocery store. And we're just going to... You can buy these already pre-sliced, but I eat pickles on the carnivore diet. I eat dill pickles. Dill pickles is one of those foods that has no protein, no carbs, no fat. You know, there are some micronutrients, but it's like free food. And so I eat that occasionally. Ah, yes, this is starting to sound better. There we go. One more little flip. And that will just brown those up. Now I'm going to turn this heat down a little bit, but I'm going to leave the heat on there because I need to fry an egg here in a minute. But I'm going to now open these up, if I can. So remember, one of these had pimento cheese, one of these had sharp cheddar cheese. It needs a quick layer of sriracha chili sauce, because nothing says tacos quite like heat. I'm going to add a little bit of sauerkraut to the base here, not a lot. You can't add a lot of food to a street taco because it will fill up so fast and you won't be able to pick it up and eat it. So a little bit of that. I'm going to put a little bit of this hamburger in here. They're already getting a little bit too big, but that's okay. That's what the cutting board's for, to catch all the stuff that falls off. Then I'm just going to add a little bit of dill pickle just to one side so that it doesn't, get too weird. And then very quickly, I'm going to whisk up an egg and fry it up. Now, my pan over here is non-stick, but I've almost made it stick because I left it on the heat one time. I thought I'd turned the heat off, and I hadn't. And so I'm going to just double check that it's going to pretty much be nonstick. Add a little Pam. Every fried egg needs butter. So we're just going to melt that down a little bit. I'm going to turn this down a little more. You only need one egg because you're only going to put a half an egg on each taco. And then we're just going to let that cook real quick. It is fast and furious, so don't walk away from it. There we go. And we'll just put a little bit of that on this taco. A little bit on this taco. In fact, I may not put the whole egg on here. I'll put this over here. There we go. Make sure I turn that off. And this is a very, very quick breakfast for me when I am using up leftovers. So let's raise this camera up a little bit. See if it will catch me eye to eye. That's not good because I got that light over me, but that's okay. So let's try a little bite of this. I love street tacos for breakfast. And that little slice of dill pickle gives it just the crunch it needs by preheating these shells in the pan. It's added a little crunch to the shell, which is really nice as well. So if you make street tacos for breakfast, put your recipe in the comments. Let me know what you have, and I'm going to enjoy this and the rest of my coffee, and we'll see you next time. That is so good.